Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. So we just got a huge patch from the dev team over at Path of Exile 2. Unfortunately, this patch came with a huge nerf that a lot of people are not going to be happy about. So let's dive into what's changed. It starts off with passive block chance now applies to blockable hits from all directions as opposed to just hits from the front, so that's a good one. The player size is now set to 0 units while dodge rolling instead of 1 unit. That was something we talked about the other day, which is going to make rolling through a group of mobs a little bit easier. Some smaller monsters can now be pushed while dodge rolling. This includes monsters such as the adorned beetles and Keth, which is also something that they talked about being a big issue when they swarmed you. Now you'll actually be able to kind of move them out of the way and push your way through. The inscribed ultimatums and the Jin Barras now display whether you obtain ascendancy skill points upon completing the Trial of Chaos or the Trial of Sekimus, respectively. So that's another good change, because before you didn't really know if you were going to gain points. Removed world map pins for encounters that were not from specific locations and areas, i.e. so from monster drops. They improved the attack in place behavior. This is another nerf right here. Rain of Arrows and Firestorm now have a hit rate limit to prevent cases of them absolutely obliterating very large bosses. So this will have little to no impact outside of boss fights with very large hitboxes, but essentially you'd be able to throw up like a rain of arrows, and if it came down, if the hitbox was big enough, it would get hit with a ton of arrows and it would just obliterate them. So they've scaled that back. Leech has been buffed, which is good because I've seen videos where the Leech really wasn't doing anything, so maybe this might be a viable skill again. Bone Shatter now more reliably hits your targets, so that's another good one. The duration of armor break has been increased to 12 seconds. It previously was 6. To improve performance, the Incinerate now creates circular areas of ignited ground instead of just segments. Added control click shortcuts to open the currency exchange at the appropriate NPCs. So now if you go to the NPC and you hit control click on them, it's automatically going to open that up. You don't have to go through and talk to them and then hit the button to get to the currency exchange. And all of the different ones also have control click functionalities for whatever their main thing is. So you might want to play around with that. Added a button to travel to the Trial of Chaos on the world map. That was another good one. I know one of my buddies today was a bit confused on how to get back there, so this is going to be really nice, a lot more intuitive. They added art for the close combat support. They added 2D art for the Defiance of Destiny unique amulet. They've added ascendancy skill points as a keyword, which details how sets of ascendancy points are obtained. They added search functionality for gem cutting and vendor inventories when using a controller. Keybinds for searching stash on a controller have also been updated, so more good changes. Added gem cutting restrictions options for the gamepad. They added suggested supports for time of need. They updated the suggested supports for Bone Storm. And just as a side note, for all of these suggested supports, honestly, when you go in to do your supported gems, look at everybody putting F in the comments. That's basically what we're going to talk about in a little bit. You can see not a lot of people are happy, but we'll get to that. So going back, anytime you look at your supported gems, there's a button, hit all gems. Go through and check them all out, because sometimes the supported gems, the recommended, are not the best. So that's a little pro tip. Moving on, they added an option for opening the trade website to the main menu for consoles. The runes now sell to vendors for more gold, so that's a positive because we're going to need it to respec. Updated art for reserved life and mana. Updated the description on runes to clarify that once socketed, they cannot be replaced, which I hope they change that in the future, because it is a pain that we can put stuff in here and then we can't replace it. It kind of almost bricks the gear if you go and change it out and then you need to change your other stuff. So that's a negative one for me for Path of Exile 2. Orders and curses that affect allies or enemy resistances now display values in the skill pop-out panel. Tweaked the audio of the Kiwi pets, the Chimera pet, and the baby Crowbell pet to reduce their impact in town areas. updated the wording on the invokers and protect me from harm ascendancy passive skill to clarify its functionality, updated the description on Hex Blast to clarify that it only detonates a single curse per enemy in its radius, updated the description on Fiery Death support to clarify that supported skills does not need to kill the ignited enemy itself, reduced defense provided to monsters by the magma barrier, and walking Goliaths no longer use their suicide attack if they are rare. Now here we go. The nerf. Trigger gems and energy gain. So trigger gems, energy gain, was not in the right place, and it was far too easy to use ailments to trigger spells. One problem with the previous system is that if we balanced it to make triggering happen in a boss fights, then the triggering would happen far too often during clearing. In order to address this, we are now making monster power part of the calculation for energy gain. This means that it's far easier to trigger skills from unique monsters than it is from normal monsters, but you also hit many more normal monsters when fighting. Another issue is that now using low-level skills with unconditional ailment applications such as Flame Wall to ignite enemies for triggering. In order to make the source of the ignite matter, we are making the energy gain be dependent on the strength of the ignite. We have also rebalanced all energy gains across the board. So, what that means is before, and I'm on my Sork here, I'll show you what happens. If I go into G, my cast on freeze here, which is what we're talking about, the gains 10 energy per power of enemies you freeze. It used to be gains 100. So as I was going through, essentially, so here we'll go through this map, and I would freeze things. Every time I would freeze something, you see all these guys frozen? Comets would strike down from the sky. Now look how much I have to do to get the comets to go. Look, it's frozen. Nothing. So I went from being this great powerful Sork. It's comical. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I went from being this great powerful Sork to being a terrible Sork, and this game is no longer fun on this class. Now there are options. I can go through and I can use Cold Snap. So what this does is essentially I can go through here. When this guy dies, I can Cold Snap him. But you can see the playstyle is not nearly as fun. Basically go through. So I wouldn't say it's unusable, but it's not in a good spot. It is definitely not in a good spot. And it didn't just affect Sorks. It's going to affect anybody that uses any of those meta skills. Your characters that used to be super powerful are now going to be pretty lame. But that was pretty much it. There were some additional patch notes for the Sanctum, which we didn't talk about. But essentially, they made the mob density a little bit better. They toned down some of the monsters. So doing Ultimatum will be a little bit easier going through. Although I also think that needs to be changed. But that basically was the patch notes. That was the giant nerf that you see. I went through from clearing packs in seconds to now having to waste a lot of time clearing just regular whites. It's going to be tough. Let me know if you were affected in the comments and how mad you are, or if you think this is a good change. But I did figure out the best way to fix this is if you hit escape and you go to character selection screen, you can hit create and then roll a ranger like I just did. I'm level 2 now, so this is how I'm going to deal with the nerf. But that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this type of content and you want some more Path of Exile 2 information, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I'll see you guys in the next one.